The World Cup is just days. It's hours away now. It is literally hours away now. And I remember starting a Twitter account saying Road to the World Cup, saying there's like 1,550 days until the World Cup. And it is literally here, which is insane. And these cards that are Path to Glory dynamic cards in FIFA 23 Ultimate Team are going to be flying up and flying down. So there's a ton of opportunity to make coins. There's also a ton of opportunity to lose coins if you're not smart. So today's video is absolutely massive for trading in Ultimate Team this week. But before we get started, I'm going to set the biggest like goal that we've set all year, which is 500 likes on today's video. If we can smash that, that would be incredible. We haven't hit too many videos that have had 500 likes this year, so that would be absolutely crazy. And let's start off with a no risk investment. I'll get into all of my transfer list and all of the moves I've done today briefly when we get the chance, but I want to start with Afif. This card is discard price, and I'm not saying that it has a ton of value, although it does look like it's usable with 4-star, 94 pace, 86 dribbling. I believe he is also explosive, which is kind of all the buzz right now. It's a good card. It's a usable card, and if there's any objective to where you need to score with a Qatari player again, of course there was one at the beginning of the week, but most people have completed that. If there is another, then there is going to be a huge rise on this card. If Qatar beats or draws or does anything against Ecuador, even if they score a goal in the first half, he's going to skyrocket up in price, at least a few thousand coins, and there's no risk because he's discard price. And that's why I wanted to start this video with a card that has no risk and only good things can happen. So if you got any extra transfer list spots, any extra coins lying around, throw them into Afif, because if it doesn't work out, you can just quick sell the card. I am fully ready to quick sell these cards, and you can get them on bid for 10,750, 10,000, even 500 sometimes on bid very, very easily. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is cards from Path to Glory Team 1. Team 1 is a pretty safe investment up until their first match. So for De Jong, who actually has one of the first matches in the World Cup, Netherlands versus Senegal on Monday, that is a card that is going to rise and rise and rise until that game happens. Now, here's the deal. Once that game happens, Netherlands favorites to beat Senegal. If they do beat Senegal, they will make that card go up in price a little bit of hype, a little bit of confirmation, given the fact that De Jong also just plays Ecuador and Qatar in the next games with Netherlands. If they can beat Senegal, they're probably getting out of the group stage, and this is going to get an upgrade, which means that he's going to go up in price a little bit, but he's expected to. So a lot of the price that's already existing on this card is that expectation to go to the knockout stage. So if you hold that card through the Netherlands versus Senegal game, well, you're taking a very, very unnecessary big risk, because if they draw or lose that game, he will crash in price heavily. So it's a very high risk, low reward situation. Yes, he will go up if they win, but he will crash so much harder if they don't get the result they're looking for, which is a win in that match. So if you have any of those cards, especially for the players that are playing in some of the sooner games like Netherlands, USA, Wales, England, Qatar, or Ecuador, all in the first 2 days, you might as well wait until the hours leading up to that match to finally sell those cards. I might sell the night before, depending on what their price is. I've actually sold a Bernardo Silva already because he's just too expensive tonight, and I think there's opportunity to go in on some other cards, or even Bernardo Silva again tomorrow at a lower price in comparison to the tax that I paid after selling it, because I sold it for about 630,000 coins. You can see he's actually down to 619 right now. If he goes back under 600K at all, I know I made the right decision. And even if he doesn't, it was a big profit because I picked him up for 550 just earlier today. These cards took a really big dip after marquee matchups on Thursday and early morning Friday. And the reason for that was just the supply of those tradable packs from the SBC, and then a little bit of the hype for the new Path to Glory Team number 2. Now, the next thing that we really have to discuss is the fact that this Team number 2 is not going to be out in packs for an entire week. Normally, the Team 2 is out from Friday to Friday at 6 p.m. UK to Friday at 6 p.m. UK, but not for Team number 2. They're only out for another 4 days and 13 hours, even less by the time you guys see that. That's 5 days. They're out of packs on Wednesday. at 6 p.m. UK, which is a completely different dynamic. Now, in the last week, Path to Glory Team 1, they saw their cheapest price around Sunday, around Monday. It was a little earlier in the week than the Road to the Knockouts earlier this year, but that's going to be solidified with Path to Glory Team 2. So you're looking to pick up those cards on Sunday or on Monday, most likely for Path to Glory Team 2 at their lowest point. So if you're holding on to any cards, like I am, like Kyle Walker, which I invested in earlier and wish I invested in more, you probably want to sell those cards before content today, because the more content that comes out, the longer you wait into the weekend, the more people are going to be finishing their their FUT champions, and that's more tradable packs that are going to be hitting the market. More tradable packs, more supply, and those cards do drop in price. Kyle Walker is now up to 735,000 coins, and to be honest, I think I'm going to pull the trigger and sell. I'm going to list mine for 729,000 coins. Yes, he could go up a little bit more tonight, but this is the highest I've seen him, and I'm very happy with that profit because I picked up this Kyle Walker for 645,000 coins. I even saw more at 630. That's why I say I wish I had bought more of these cards, but a nice little profit. Now let's talk about why I picked up this card. I bought him because most of the supply for a new promo comes immediately. That's where all of these Bruno Guimaraes sales came from. In fact, let's take a look at the first few, because as you can see, I sold this one for 417K. I picked it up for 320. This one I picked up for 319, sold for 408. Within minutes of buying those cards. Then I sold this one for $399. I actually got it for $340. I got this one for $350, sold for $398. And then this is where the risk really comes in, because this card I sold for $289K. I bought that for $350K. I lost a lot of coins. Now, overall, those were my first 5 purchases on Bruno Guimaraes, and the overall net profit was like 150 to 200K. I made a lot of coins in the end, but I lost a lot of coins on this one, and the reason was I listed it for 417,000 coins like this card, and it didn't sell, and then the undercutting began, and I had to wait an entire hour before I could relist that card. And by the time that hour was up, he was down 130,000 coins. So 130K profit gone like that. And sure, I still made coins on Bruno Guimaraes, and I continued to flip him throughout the day, getting a lot of these cards for less than 260, selling them for 280, getting them for 270, selling them for 295, just going with the flow of the market. And of course, Teo Hernandez, which you guys, if you've watched the last few videos, know how much we made on those cards, a nice little 400, 500K profit. But that's besides the point. We'll talk about informs later in the video. There's the Kyle Walker sale. We made ourselves a little bit of profit there because we're looking at about 35K tax. So we made about 50,000 coins on that card right there. But I'm going to go ahead and hold on to Bernardo Silva. I'm going to hold on to Young, and there's no reason to sell a Fifa. Well, I got him close to discard price anyway. So I'm going to hold on to these cards as we get closer to their first match. And if you want to still pick up some of the cards from Team 1, they have started rising a little bit, as you guys saw, but there are some cards that still catch my eye. In fact, I think a lot of people are afraid to invest in some players from France, not in Nkunku so much because he's extinct at 2 million coins, but Antoine Griezmann, in comparison to the rise of De Jong, in comparison to the rise of the Bernardo Silva, hasn't been nearly as much, even though he's kind of in a similar price bracket as them from the first team. And I think people are a little bit afraid of the fact that this France nation could end up getting grouped because of the curse. Now, he has actually risen another 20K since I checked him last, so he is up a little bit more, but I've been seeing him at 545, 550 all day, and he might drop down a little bit again tomorrow. So there are opportunities to flip these cards. Don't be afraid of the fact that you didn't get the best deal, because that is okay. These cards are still going to rise a ton more. You just have to make sure you're not taking any big risk in holding these into any matches. Now, it could be a ton of fun to find a nation that isn't likely to go through and go ahead and invest heavily in those cards. In fact, I might do that because there's not as much risk to hold a card from a nation that's not going to go through or likely to not go through to the next round. And those cards would skyrocket if they made some sort of big surprise. So Kim Min MNJ could be a fun card to invest in and take a risk on. But just know that you will lose coins if they don't end up going through. So there are some big risks that come along with it. But if you are going to take that route, I would invest more so in the cards that are expected to lose, just because if they're expected to lose, well, they shouldn't drop quite as much as if they're expected to win. Even if we take a look at the road to the knockout, Foden, that card ended up tanking very, very hard when the Manchester City ended up drawing against Dortmund, because that meant that they weren't going to get the extra boost on Foden. But then people realized he was still going to get an upgrade because he was going to get out of the group stage, and he went flying right back up. So there's a lot of panic selling and a lot of panic buying when it comes to those games. And I think that if you guys are very active on the market and making smart decisions like selling into the hype, you're going to have a very, very fun World Cup with your coins, and you're going to be making a lot of profit. Now, in terms of lower budget investments, Informs have been a very reliable place for us. We've made coins on Informs every single week for the past month, very reliably. But there aren't a ton of great Informs in this team of the week. In fact, there's only 4 of them that are 5% above their discard price or fodder value. And those cards are Keane, which is 26k as an 86 rated inform. Odegaard, which looks like is actually discard now. And then we've got Darwin Nunez, who is about 16k for an 84 rated inform. And then you've got Nuno Mensch, who is 28k. Out of all of the cards that I'm seeing from this team of the week, the only card I'm interested in and maybe in investing in is going to be Nuno Mensch. I don't think I'm going to be touching many of the other cards. Keane might be a decent card to pick up. If there are any more Serie A SBCs or Serie A hype, then maybe he could go up in price out of packs. I think Nuno Mensch is probably the best card for this team of the week. So if you're going to make an investment in team of the week, I would probably sway towards Nuno Mensch or Keane, but Mensch is going to be the one that I pick up. Just spoiler alert there. Here's the deal with him. You want to be picking up your informs on Saturday night or Sunday morning, maybe Monday, but I wouldn't wait until Tuesday or Wednesday because they've already started rising by then. So if you're going to be looking to invest in those inform cards, I would do so sometime this weekend. So get ahead of the curve. Try to find maybe a low point during content, maybe a low point on Sunday morning. But normally we see Saturday or Sunday as the low point for any inform team. Now, with the World Cup, that could throw things around a little bit more, but especially with the Path to Glory team expiring on Wednesday, I think that informs are still going to be pretty reliable to invest in. And if Nuno Mensch can hold a 28k value right now through all this World Cup hype, then I'm sure he can hold a little bit of value out of packs, and that's why I think he's a decent investment. Now, here's the thing with Hernandez. We sold this card on Thursday, just a day after he went out of packs, but his biggest rise actually came on Tuesday. He was still in packs when his biggest rise happened. He continued to go up on Wednesday and kind of stopped on Thursday, and I ended up selling him. He's on his way back down just a little bit right now. He's at like 185. So for most of those guys, if you're going to invest, go for those on Saturday, Sunday, and I would focus on Keane or Mensch. I would say Nunez might actually go up as well, but you're looking at a little bit more lower budget investment, maybe less risk, less reward on that type of card. The next thing I want to talk about is the Marvel FUT heroes that are out right now. Team 2 was just released, and it's not nearly as stacked as Team number 1 was, but there are some notable cards in here like Brolin, Okocha, Smolarek, Marquisio. So some big boys in here, but the big thing that we were released today was the fact that there is a 89 overall maximum World Cup Hero Pack coming to FIFA Ultimate Team. So if you go over to the Players tab on FUTBin and you set it to World Cup Heroes, you can actually set it to the maximum rating of 89. And you'll see all of the players that will pop up at less than 89. And there are a lot of really good cards you can get, including Yaya Toure, who's one of the most expensive ones at 2.16 million coins. I believe he actually is the most expensive one, if I'm not mistaken. And then you've got Claudio Marquisio at 1.5 million coins, JJ Okocha at 1.1 million, Robbie Keane, which is, I believe, the SBC, so you can't end up getting him. All the way down here, there are a few that are less than 200K. You could get Mascherano, which, by the way, I packed in my Guaranteed FUT Heroes pack. He's pretty good in game, I won't lie. Then Tim Cahill's kind of a crapper. Freddie Lundberg. I mean, these are usable cards. Like, if you get them in your pack, you'll use them, but they're not great. And then Al Jabir, not great. Clint Dempsey, not great. Campos and Crouch, you definitely do not want them. So there are a few crappy ones that you can get, but overall, it depends on what they price it at. There are some absolute bangers that you can pack in that World Cup maximum 89 heroes pack. So the most expensive one is actually Yaya Toure. Indeed, Lucio is not going to be packable. Voller, Forlan, not able to pack those. So it's interesting that they made it maximum 89 just to get rid of a couple of cards that you can pack. So Lucio, Voller, and Forlan, I believe, are the only three that you cannot pack in the Guaranteed FUT Heroes pack, which is a weird thing for them to add. But that's what is in the code, so that's what we do expect. And when it comes to SBC fodder, we could see those start going back up as well. Right now, we are at pretty much the low point for 84 rated cards. We're at the low point for 85 rated cards. 86s at 13K are still pretty low. 87s aren't at their lowest point. Normally, you can get them for around 15.5, 16. They're up to 18 right now. 88s are 26, and 89s, as you go up, it gets even tougher. Now, the one card that stands out to me the most out of all of this is 90 rated Inform Kroos in the Team of the Week, because he is cheaper than the cheapest gold card of that rating, which is Thibaut Courtois at 48K. So 43K for an Inform. It's going to go out of packs on Wednesday. I'm not sure what day we should expect this World Cup pack, but if anything makes the most sense, it's Monday. We've seen those upgrade packs happen on Mondays for the last few weeks. We saw the Heroes pack drop on Monday. We saw the Icon pack drop on Monday. We saw the other Heroes pack drop on Monday. It would just make the most sense for this FUT Heroes pack to drop on Monday. So if you're going to invest in some fodder, I do like Toni Kroos as one of those options. Then a couple more high-rated cards might not be a bad idea, especially given the fact that there are far less people invested in fodder now than there were a few days ago. Everybody seemed to have been invested in fodder, and that's why when all of these upgrade packs like the Icon SBC came out, we saw a rise in price on fodder, but it wasn't nearly as much as people expected. And the reason for that is there's so much supply coming off of people's transfer lists from investments that it just kind of halted the rise. This week, I don't think we'll see the same thing, and I also think that everybody wants to do this FUT Heroes pack more than the base Icon pack. I didn't even do the base Icon pack. I didn't think it was worth it. Icons that are, especially the baby icons, there's only a few that you can get that are really worth it, and that was 200K. This, on the other hand, might be much more worth it. I don't know what they're going to price it at. If I'd have to guess, maybe 250, 300K of fodder, which is probably fair because there's only a few cards that are less than 200,000 coins on the market that you could get. But there also is Peter Crouch for 15K. So you are running a huge risk still, where for icon cards, there are none less than like 90K. That's what you can quick sell them for. So I guess that's what the balance is, but it's untradeable either way. So you're not really, it doesn't change much whether you get the crappiest icon or the crappiest World Cup Heroes. That's just not what you're looking for. I think more people will do the World Cup Heroes SBC. Ultimately, that's the point I'm trying to get at. So SBC fodder, I think, could rise a little bit more this week. Yeah, you're not getting in at the cheapest price for a lot of these high rateds, but you are still getting in on a card that could rise more. Like 18K or 17K for 87s. We saw those at 23K at one point this year. They can go higher. 88s at 26K, again, they're already up a little bit, but their supply is probably up as well, because from that icon pack, all these 88s went up in price to 26K, and now they've been sold off of people's transfer lists. So less people have them on their transfer list, less people have them in their club, which means that they could go even higher, which is why I still like these cards as investments if you haven't picked them up yet. Inaki Williams is also projected to come as a squad building challenge. Now, those stats are just projections. They're not actually confirmed, but just looking at that card, that is incredible as it stands. Now, Ghana aren't really likely to get out of their group because they have Portugal, Uruguay, and South Korea. That's a tough group for Ghana to get out of, and they are, I believe, the lowest ranked team going into this tournament. But anything can happen, even if it doesn't get an upgrade. That is a really, really good card, and we'll see how many people end up doing it. This could also push SBC fodder up a little bit more, as well as that Heroes pack. Now, here's the thing with him. I didn't find any crazy good complementary links. I looked around for Ghana players, and all of the Ghana players that we've seen so far this year have all been untradeable like this guy. We saw Kudus out of the season objectives, and he was untradeable. And then we saw the right winger, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's from Ghana, very quick, but he was out of a dynamic duo objective, so also untradeable. So nothing that we can really invest in that makes a ton of sense. But if this ends up being a super cheap SBC that everybody does, then you'll just see general La Liga players going up in price. Anything that's meta in La Liga will start to rise, like Ousmane Dembele, etc. So those are the cards that you will look out for if this is a super cheap squad building challenge. And the good thing is you can wait until this SBC drops, then immediately check and see what the price is. If you think that it's a price that everybody's going to do, a lot of times you'll see people's feedback immediately on Twitter and on Futbin. That'll give you a good idea on how many people are going to do it. And if it looks like a lot of people are going to do it, go ahead and invest in maybe an informed Dembele or a Koundé center back, something like that. And a lot of times those will go up a lot. Just general La Liga meta players. So Inaki Williams coming to SBC soon. And also 500 likes. Why haven't you hit the like button yet? Hit the like button. Now, we've talked a little bit about when to sell, and that's pretty self-evident. You sell into the hype before their first match, you guarantee your profit. But we haven't talked about a lot of when to buy. Now, of course, if you buy today in content, they're probably going to rise more than 5%, which is the profit margin you need to escape any tax losses. And you can sell before their first match, especially for the guys that play later this week, like on Wednesday or Thursday. But for some of the guys that play a little bit earlier in the week, like Qatar versus Ecuador or USA versus Wales, like Christian Pulisic here, I think USA is probably slight favorites against Wales. So they are expected to get at least a result, although it is a very tough group. It's very close between Iran, Wales, and USA. But let's say, hypothetically, they draw against Wales. Well, a draw against Wales doesn't look good, especially when their next match is against England just a few days later. And if they can't beat Wales, they're probably not going to beat England. But if they get a draw against Wales, this card is going to absolutely crash in price. And it's going to crash hard because people are going to panic sell and undercut and undercut and undercut and undercut. And I think that's a great opportunity to buy that card. Not only will it rebound naturally because this is still an upgraded special card, you can't deny the fact that this isn't the normal gold Christian Pulisic. It already has a big upgrade on the card, so it has value that way, even if it doesn't get any upgrades. But a draw gives you a point. And let's say they're able to pull off a draw against England. Suddenly, all they have to do is beat Iran and they're probably through. So situations like that happen all the time. If we take a look at that Phil Foden that I think I mentioned earlier, that Phil Foden RTTK crashed so hard when they drew against Borussia Dortmund, and then people realized, Manchester City's still getting out of this group. What are we doing? And he rose back up in price. A great opportunity to buy at that panic selling and make some profit. So with that being said, I think you wait and see which teams draw, which teams lose, buy into that panic, wait for the rebound and sell, or you can wait until their next match, especially if there's still a reasonable idea that they could get through to the knockout stages. Because even if they do get a draw in the first match, that doesn't mean they're out of the tournament most of the time. Now, if Qatar ends up drawing against Ecuador, I mean, that's not a great look, but you can still see Ecuador or Qatar get through as long as they beat Senegal, because 4 points can take you through to the knockout stages in many cases in the World Cup, because there are only 3 matches. So there are different situations that you've got to think about and not panic sell any of these cards. And hopefully none of you guys are the ones panic selling the cards, because you sold in the hype and waited till other people panic sold those cards. So a great investment opportunity there. A card that I think just might be too cheap is Boufal. He does play in a top 5 league in Ligue 1. The only problem is his nation is tough to link with Morocco. You've only really got Hakimi, and then you've got Angers, which is not a great nation or not a great club to link with. You would hope that if they're in Ligue 1, then they'd be at PSG, because then you could link him with some studs. But still a good card, and I think that Morocco, they have a really, really tough group with Croatia, Belgium, and Canada. I mean, they could pull one off and get out of that group. I don't think Croatia are super strong as they were in 2018. Belgium just lost to Egypt in a friendly, and then Canada did win the qualifiers of CONCACAF. So, it's also their first World Cup in 60 years. Anybody could get second place in that group, even if Belgium are the favorites. So at 17K, that's a really good card. I'm just saying, maybe a solid investment as a sleeper pick right there. But those are the current cards. And for any of these guys, I wouldn't buy on day number 1. And hopefully by the time you're watching this video, for most of you guys, day number 1 is probably over. Now, it looks like I sold the Kyle Walker at a pretty good time, because he's down to 720K with a ton of supply now. So it looks like I sold that Kyle Walker at a great time. And we're up to about 4 million coins. And I think once I sell my last couple investments, which we might not sell today, Bernardo Silva and De Jong, oh yeah, we are over 5 million coins on the account. And that's what we're going to end today's video with. If you've made it to the end of today's video, I want you guys to comment down below the secret comment of the day, World Cup hype. Because even though we have waited 4.5 years for this, even though there is some controversy with the Qatar World Cup, and I get that, man, I could not be more excited for these matches. And so make sure to comment that down below, and I'll heart everybody's comment that comments World Cup hype down below. Again, we're shooting for 500 likes on today's video, and also I'll be live on Twitch quite a bit this week, and with some World Cup content both on FIFA 23, of course, and with Upland as well. So check out my Twitch channel down below, and that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.